Alright, I'm back with another Destiny 2 video, and it is weekly reset, so we are talking about the stuff that happened this week. We are still in the part of the season where there are new story developments week to week, even though we are kind of repeating the same activities now. This week was unique in that we got the end of the Ager Scepter quest. It is not the most story-heavy thing ever, but it does kind of conclude the Uldren and Mara saga from the Tales of Uldren when he was still Uldren and trying to help his sister using the metaphor of birds for a very long time. And then Mara chimes in to explain what the metaphor means every time. I will probably talk about the Scepter another day. The quest is pretty straightforward. It's kind of just a lot of grinding of Astral and then running 3 random strikes and then fighting a single boss. The trace rifle is actually kind of awesome. It kind of works like Sunshot for chain reaction enemy freezing. It's not really good in PvP because it's so situational and the damage is not good, but in PvE it's amazing because it chain freezes tons of enemies and it triggers all your stasis aspects and fragments for the freeze and shatter effects. So that's pretty cool. It may or may not have a catalyst that you can get right now. It might be tied to legendary astral things later because no one seems to have gotten the catalyst as a drop yet. We'll see if that's bugged or we'll see if that's purposeful. In any case, what I wanted to focus on today is the more we've heard from Mara this season and the deeper we've gone into this Crow Uldren storyline, both with Ager's and with the regular plotline, the more I'm kind of hating Mara Sov. I know she's like one of the iconic Destiny characters. She's like the big one everybody has a crush on, and you know, it's one of the most sought after Destiny waifus. But in terms of an actual character, like she's kind of mean, and she is really, really controlling and manipulative of Uldren, and now by proxy Crow. The whole point of Uldren's story is that, you know, they were twins, but they're not really equals, where Mara is kind of just always dictating, you know, her brother's actions and what he can or cannot do, and she's like grooming him for these really specific roles and trying to decide whether or not he's ready or not. And like they tell the story about kind of the exchanging of gifts where he gives her the crown of feathers and she's supposed to give him the scepter and she just doesn't because he's not ready. She comments at one point that she was going to make him like the ruler of the Borderlands or something, which I think was going to be like, you know, that's where Spider is now. And then today we kind of learned that her original plan was to cultivate Uldren Sov into a light bearer, not for like his benefit, but like as a weapon she could wield. And she really just kind of views him as a tool, like as a means to an end. And she's still doing that now, where she's the lore page from this week is her talking to Petra, and she's talking about how, you know, they're keeping him away and like they think that they can bring Uldren back kind of through Crow, which is like not great because I think we all like Crow more than we like Uldren and we'd rather keep him in this new personality here. But also she says like, you know, if Savathun moves in to take advantage, like she will end it. And I think the implication there is she would rather just kill Crow rather than let Savathun get her hooks in him at any point. And like she just treats him kind of like a pet rather than a brother. This has been evident, I mean, for a while, but it's so kind of explicitly laid out here in this season that, I mean, you feel bad for both Crow and you feel bad for Uldren even, and like you kind of understand why he was like what he was like back in the day. And like she's really mad that, you know, there's a conversation with like Cora that happens over the radio this week where she's like really mad that we killed him. Or the Vanguard killed him, and she hasn't gotten justice for that. And she's like saying that he was manipulated by Riven, it wasn't his fault. But like, again, all of this doesn't really seem out of like concern for her brother. It's just she wants to kind of wield him as a weapon when it suits her and like for her own ends. She talked about a couple weeks ago how when he was like emerging in the distributary, like his mind was like an unsteady fawn, and he needed to like latch on to her. And we're always hearing about how he's so like dependent on other people, and now he's dependent on Glint, and he's dependent on us, his guardian friend, and he was dependent on Osiris, who turned into Savathun. And she's just like knocking him down a peg like at every turn. And I don't love that. It's just not a great look from her. Not to mention that I think her plan with Savathun is stupid because obviously we know that we're going to remove Savathun's worm, which allows her to get the light. And then she does get the light. So that's what's going to happen. And I think Mara Sov is kind of a moron to be assuming that she's going to outsmart Savathun, and kind of nothing I've seen from her current plan with the Techeuns pulling the worm out of her or whatever's going to happen. It seems like that is remotely a good idea. And like, why would Savathun agree to this if she didn't have some sort of like backup plan or switch she's going to pull to, get out of being killed, obviously? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And like, I don't even think Savathun is really trapped in there. I think Savathun is pretending to be trapped in there, so we do help take her worm out. That seems like something Savathun would do, but like Mara is coming across as really simplistic with this plan here, which is clearly not going to work the way she says. I mean, granted, some of that is just spoiled by the plot of the Witch Queen, so, there's a certain lack of surprise there. But second, the way she treats, I guess everybody, she's a queen, she's above everyone, she's haughty, and yet the way she treats Uldren especially is very brutal, and now what she's trying to do to Crow does not seem good, and is not something I think we want to see happen to Crow, who is grown into like a good dude, and we don't want him to be Uldren again or sacrificed in this game that Mara's playing with Savathun. So I know, Mara's been a good character in the past, and she's done some interesting things, and like it's kind of funny when she argued with our ghost, but like I don't think she's like a villain. I just don't think she's a very good ally, and she's certainly not a very good sister. So it's kind of weird to see her back in this capacity, kind of as a catalyst to give Savathun power, and then possibly screw up this entire Crow storyline where we have been building him into this like good dude, light wielding guardian, and now she wants him to be Uldren Sov, light bearer, under her control, essentially. Like that is her ultimate objective. Like it doesn't matter to her that Uldren is like Crow is pretty happy and has power and stuff and independence right now. Like she doesn't want that. She wants him back to the way he was, which is kind of under her thumb. So this is just, I don't know. It's an interesting turn for a character. And we've seen some other characters do this too. Like Lakshmi didn't used to be as villainous as she was, but she obviously turned pretty quick. And like, well, I don't think Mara is going down that road, and I don't think Mara is going to die at the end of this season or something, or we're going to turn on her. I think her motivations are really questionable to the point where I don't think we should be helping her the way we are. And yet it's kind of like we have to, because we don't really have any agency, and we just have to keep rescuing these Techeuns and going along with her dumb plan. I'm hoping that we can end this saving Crow, and we don't have to watch him turn back into Uldren. If I feel like there's probably a way to get his memories back, and so like maybe he can kind of be Uldren, but I just don't think he needs to be as beholden as he was to Mara. And like him being that devoted to Mara to like an insane degree is how we got into the whole Forsaken mess in the first place, and how Riven manipulated him. So if we just need kind of like Crow to stay Crow and not to revert back to his old ways. But I don't think his old ways are because he's like weak-willed or weak-minded. I think it's because he's totally and utterly manipulated and controlled by Mara. And that is really coming across strongly this season in a way that I don't think we've seen to this extent before. I'm not saying I like this storyline. I think it's interesting and complex. It's just made me really dislike a character that I used to like, or used to be at least neutral about in terms of Mara. So we'll see what happens from here. We have a lot more weeks of story developments to come. I don't know when this story ends, because this is a 6-month season. It seems like we're over halfway through the Techeun extraction part of the story quest, just judging by how many quest steps there are. But we'll have to see what kind of happens in the long term here. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the story developments for this week. I'm going to go dive in, do some challenges, see if this catalyst is bugged or not, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.